Hey, Grant.
Hey Joe, how's it going?
Good. How's life?
Keeping busy.
Good, good. Where are you located?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. Cool. This is a first for me. I don't think I've had anybody. I have a good friend that lived up in North Dakota for some time, and they would just talk about the winters were brutal.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I remember particularly, it would have been, I think it was spring of last year. We got a blizzard in April, and it was ridiculous how much snow we got. We got like, I want to say like 18 inches over the span of like 24 hours or 36
Wow.
hours. So,
That's crazy. So, do you like snow?
Um, I'm good with snow. It's not something that I particularly like having to try to work around in terms of like, getting from place to place, but like as far as, the actual it being there, I can take it or leave it.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, hey, Grant, it's so good to have you on the show. I appreciate your time, and I want to begin our conversation with what we've lived through for the last 3.5 years, which has been a pandemic. How did you get through it, and how has it changed you?
Right. Um, that is definitely an interesting question. I guess I haven't been too terribly disrupted by it. Again, North Dakota is kind of a lower population state, so everybody's kind of used to distancing themselves from each other, and my wife and I were kind of homebodies anyway, so um, it didn't really affect too much. I think as it sort of progressed, um, we did sort of find ourselves having that bit of cabin fever, jonesing for social interaction with people that we like to engage with, and I know that North Dakota. I don't know if it was one of the first states to kind of start to open back up, but um, I think I think I was able to kind of get back to some level of normalcy faster than other parts of the country.
Yeah. So let's get into what you do. Obviously you're a voice actor. There's a lot that's
Mhm.
on your plate all the time. But if I put you in front of a bunch of third graders and one of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer them?
Right. So I think Richard Horvitz did a really good job of saying this very succinctly, and that is, um, I play pretend, play pretend for a living, and it's really cool because growing up, I was a consumer of media. I watched all sorts of things, and sort of my first interaction I feel like I had with voiceover was back in the early 90s. Mrs. Doubtfire comes out, and that first scene with Robin Williams talking into a microphone, playing the little cat and the bird on the screen that he's watching as they're having kind of their exchange. It was great to see how that worked, and the fact that I was able to be exposed to that at such a young age, I think really kind of cemented in me sort of a purpose in providing that engagement, that entertainment, and that level of storytelling.
So what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Yeah. So as time progressed, I think maybe that took a bit of a backseat. Then I got introduced to video games. So probably between like third and fifth grade or sixth grade, I started being more interested in being in video games and maybe doing like play testing or developing video games. But then I got back into junior high, and that's when I got interested in voiceover again. Um, Skip ahead. I got a bachelor's in theater arts for my undergraduate. Then the real world hits you, and you go, well, what am I going to do now to actually make money? And somebody who I've grown up in North Dakota. I've basically lived here all but 2 years of my life, which I don't remember those 2 years,
Yeah.
because that was the first 2 years. Um, I didn't want to follow sort of the traditional path of going to California to pursue voiceover. So my goal was to find a way to make it sustainable here while also uh, being close to, again, the people that I've grown up with and gotten to know really well. So um, bring us to today. I've got a commercial demo done. I've been working with Mark Cashman. He's been in the voiceover industry for 40 years, but he's located in California. And so when he opened up his online, because that was one adjustment he had to make. during the pandemic was moving more towards online coaching, or distance coaching, which I think was it was a boon to the industry, I think, as a whole, because of the fact that it just made things so much more available. And like uh, you see this in AAA productions. You've got, I think, Raya and the Dragon. I think that was made entirely with the voice talent recording in their home studios, and they didn't even have home studios correctly built yet at that time. They were using ports and all of that kind of stuff. So
Wow. So how did this journey begin? What was the first gig that you got? How did it kind of gain some steam and take off?
yeah, so I think the first true voiceover gig that I got was sort of a smaller thing, and this was while I was still, well, I still am in the private sector, but I was working at a credit union. They were trying to put together kind of a video for some sort of a convention that they were doing, or some sort of an award thing that I put the voiceover onto their video, and they ended up winning that category for that year. So that was kind of nice to see.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't really think of it that much for a couple of years. I tried dipping my toes in the water back in 2015 for a while, and I auditioned a whole bunch of times on voices.com. Nothing really developed there, and I found out that the primary reason for that was I didn't really have a very good recording environment in my house at the time, and I didn't have the kind of feedback telling me, "Oh, you just need to sound better." So I think it's important to do your research and find out, okay, it's not just being able to read, right? That's the thing
Yeah.
that people, I think everybody on TikTok has seen the video, "Hey, do you want to make $400 an hour just reading?" Well, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
You need to be able to read, but you also need to be able to act. You need to have a really well treated environment. And then after that, you can kind of start worrying about some of the more intricate things like equipment and specializing. But
Yeah. So who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
in the performance space, I would definitely say some of the people that I've looked up to over the years, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. They're two of the live action ones that I've really taken a lot from. I would say on the voiceover side, some of the ones that I've really clung to, you've got Jim Cummings, Keith David, the ones that are really versatile. You've got like Billy West, um, just all of those guys. Frank Welker, he's one of the top grossing actors ever, but it's from all of his creature voices. He was Cujo, and he was Megatron, and Fred Jones and Scooby Doo. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Casey Kasem was Shaggy, right?
yep.
It's wild.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that's influential, that's maybe in your sphere of influence that you could learn from, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Right now, I think it would be Bob Bergen,
Okay.
and he was the voice of Porky Pig in Space Jam.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen him in Steve Bloom's kind of Facebook coaching group, where he provides a lot of value to all of the students in there trying to break into the industry. And he has this kind of coaching event that he'll put on with Mary Lynn Wisner. It's a cruise, so it's a 10-day cruise, and I think there's either 2 or 5 days of voiceover workshops, or it might be 3 days. I can't remember exactly, but I'd love to go on that, just to kind of pick his brain and be able to see, somebody like him in action, and really get to the heart of, what is it that we should be doing to hone our craft, and really put out a stellar product there for everybody, the people that are putting on these productions, that are hoping to see some sort of a return, to all of the, third graders or what have you, that all they're looking for is a good time.
So what's been some of the best advice that you've ever gotten in in your line of work being in voiceover?
The best advice. Um, I'll take this one This is a quote that I hear often from Mark, and that would be, "Don't be a lemming." A lot of the time, especially in voiceover, you're spending all of your time auditioning for projects, and again, good chance you're not going to get any feedback. But it's really taking risks, taking calculated risks based off of what you think they are expecting, and taking that and making something that nobody else is going to be able to provide. And you do that through sort of reading some of the subtextual or contextual stuff with the script, um, and then again, just kind of you know going out on a limb and deciding, hey, I'm going to make this artistic choice. This is why I think this would be fitting, and hopefully, that comes across in the read.
So, there's probably a lot of people out there that want to get into voice acting. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious, in your experience, what's the best way for someone to develop vocal cords, to develop the moxie, to develop that timing and all of those things that you probably have to learn by just doing it? But is there any way that you've done it in practice to help you be better?
Right. I think one thing that's really helped me a lot is I'm somebody who, growing up, I had opportunities to, participate in the arts. So I acted in high school and college. Um, I did speech and drama. I made the all-state speech and drama team in North Dakota my senior year. And then, like, ever since I was, well, really since about second or third grade, I got into playing instruments. Um, I took piano lessons for a couple of years and then had a little bit of a break. And then in fifth grade on, I learned how to play the trombone, and I'm still keeping with that. And you get to kind of pick up on some really interesting things that you otherwise wouldn't, because at the heart of it, the voice is an instrument. We can train it, like you said, in different ways so that, you can increase your range, you can strengthen your range, or in certain, you know, parts of it where, the middle or the higher or the lower mid, or, just anywhere within your actual speaking voice, you can strengthen the actual sound of it. You can kind of play around with figuring out things like texture, like adding a bit of gravel to your voice, or just all sorts of different things that you can kind of pick up as you sort of pay attention to what you're doing with it and how it feels. And that's another reason why taking music lessons or classes, things like band or choir, I think is important because, especially with choir, you might be able to pick up on some of the other things that would be beneficial to your voice, which is finding out, how do you use it without straining it and putting it into a place where you're not going to be able to use it, the entire career that you're hopefully going to have.
Yeah, they always say that soccer players and football players benefit by taking ballet. And it's
Hmm.
funny how you can take one discipline and how the Venn
Yeah.
diagrams just kind of come together, you know?
Yeah, gymnastics and ballet, I would imagine, would be great for any kind of sport, whether contact or just having some level of proficiency over your body, like baseball.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this. What is your motivation every day to get out of bed, to do your work, to meet the goals that you want to meet? What is that for you?
I think it really is, thinking about that little kid way back when, that he saw all this stuff, and it doesn't just appear out of thin air. You've got to put together a team of people to see it from conception to realization, and the only way to do that is to make sure that you're connecting with people, finding out what opportunities are out there, or if there aren't any opportunities that you can kind of dip into, or get your foot in the door. You need to find ways that you're able to make your own content, I think. And that's one nice thing about social media. There's so many downsides to it nowadays, between privacy and all of that, but I think one of the better um, one of the better aspects of it is definitely the fact that people can sort of show off their creativity and put things out there, and a lot of them are probably going to fail, honestly. That's, again, being a voiceover, you do all of these auditions and you get maybe, somewhere between 2 and 5 that offer you a role out of 100 that you apply to, it can be a little bit um, demotivating. And again, it's just you have to realize that the reason why you're doing this is so that you have the skills developed so that when you meet with opportunity and it presents itself, you're prepared. I really like this quote from Chris Voss, the former FBI negotiator, which was, "We don't rise to the occasion; we fall to our highest level of preparation."
Yeah, that's well said. Who's one of your favorite actor or one of your favorite characters in the
Characters.
voiceover realm?
Um, oh, there's if I went on a tangent about the characters that I enjoy, we'd probably be here for the rest of the day. But um, I really kind of resonate with Jim Henson, which is kind of interesting because when you think of voiceover, you don't really think of him, but
Yeah,
when you think of people who want to get into voiceover, just about everybody's tried Kermit the Frog.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, he's the king, that's for sure. Um, so what's been one of your best success stories? Feedback that you got, fan letter, what has that been?
Um, wow.
Uh,
um, let's see here. I guess the best feedback that I got would have been from one of the auditions that I did. It was for a project that I eventually got cast in, and um, initially, what had happened was I had tried out for 2 roles, didn't get either of those. He said, would you consider, trying out for this other one? I don't remember if I actually had to submit something for him or not, but I got invited to the read through, and we had a read through. It was half an hour or an hour. We went through the entire script twice, and we got to see all of the characters with 1 or 2 different variations on who was reading them and all of their performances. It was great to kind of see that kind of joint effort and getting to see everybody's unique take on everything. And then afterwards, um, it was kind of an interesting like day or two of exchanges, because it went from I wasn't going to be in the project to okay, I am going to be in the project, but I'm a couple of other side characters. And um, I had asked again for kind of feedback, and it was again just keep doing what you're doing, because it is working, and there is going to be some project out there that it's going to require your voice, and you need to be ready when it presents itself.
so let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, you ran into a much younger version of yourself,
Mhm.
and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained up to this point, what advice would you give your young self?
Whatever it is you want to do, commit first, and then find a way to work something into every day that will get you closer to that goal.
So of all the things that you've done so far in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Um, that that's a good question too. Um, Honestly, right now it's probably being a dad.
Yeah.
Because that's something I had always kind of envisioned as just sort of a natural part of the progression of going through life. And I thought it would happen a lot sooner in my life than when it did, but now that it's a reality, I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity, and just what I can hopefully instill in the little one, and hopefully one or more to come afterwards. So
So what would be a dream gig for you? If you could get the ultimate offer, what would you love to do right now?
sure. I think this is also something that's kind of changed over time, because when I was growing up, it was always, oh, I want to be this character. I always want to try to be that character. So it was like I would do impressions of Bugs Bunny and Kermit the Frog, and I'd do it all those. And then as you get older and you start to talk to the professionals who say you need to be able to act, I think now it would be it wouldn't necessarily matter what kind of a project it is. I would love to be in any kind of a AAA project, whether it's an interactive or an animation or an anime or any of that kind of stuff. But I would love to be some sort of an authority figure. You know, somebody that you look up to, or it could even be like a villain, you know, somebody who's like a tyrant just kind of raining down on people, but somebody memorable
Yeah.
and has a bit of depth to them, because it's not, you know, you could tell a story and people might like it or not, but I think if you have that depth of character, I think it provides just a little bit more satisfaction when people are consuming it.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think when it comes down to it, I'm just a regular guy. I stay in my head a lot, so I've been introverted, all of that kind of stuff. But I'm just a goofball, honestly. Like that's who I was when I was a kid. You know, my wife, she sees me playing with our niece and our son, and she just goes, "Yeah, you connect with them because you're still in that headspace." So,
Right on. Well, hey, if anyone out there wants to hear your work, they want to
mhm.
learn more about you, reach out to you, anything along those lines, where's the best place to go?
Right. I have a website. It's grantjohnsonvo.com. On there, I've got my contact information. I've got links to my socials, you know, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or X, I guess you could call it now, whatever.
Yeah, right, whatever it is.
um, yeah, I've got those. I've got my contact information, link to my demos, and a couple of samples. I need to update it so that it's got more of the recent stuff. There's a couple of projects. The one that I mentioned about earlier, it's something called ASO. It's a pilot for kind of a space adventure with cats
Nice.
and other animals, you know, anthropomorphic. Um, so that's on YouTube. And then there's another podcast, Leaving Corvat. They just started season 2, and I'm in the first episode, Five Doors, where I'm the 911 dispatcher. So,
Excellent. Grant, this has been great. Thank you for opening up your world. Thanks for your story and best of luck with everything.
absolutely. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Take care.